Evelyn Carter and Aarav Malhotra's love story seemed perfect, a dream wedding, a night full of promises. But in just a few hours, everything turned into a nightmare. What no one knew was that Evelyn was hiding a secret so dark, it would destroy the life she had just begun. On her wedding night, a stranger watched from the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike, and Aarav would discover a truth that would shatter him forever. Was it love, betrayal, or something far more dangerous? Every detail of that night hides a clue, every silence tells a story, and the shocking twists will leave your heart racing. Stay with us, because when you see the truth behind Evelyn's secret, you won't believe how a night meant for love ended in murder. Evelyn Carter had always lived a life that looked calm on the surface, but beneath it was a careful structure built on silence and control. She grew up in a quiet town in Oregon where people trusted each other easily, and she learned early how to blend in without drawing attention. She was intelligent, disciplined, and extremely private. While others shared their lives openly, Evelyn chose to reveal only what was necessary. She worked as a data analyst for a mid-sized firm, spending most of her days in front of screens, organizing numbers, patterns, and hidden connections. To her colleagues, she was reliable but distant, friendly but never close. No one ever truly knew her routines outside of work, and no one questioned it. Her life took a turn when she met Aarav Malhotra through an international professional forum. Aarav was based in New Jersey, originally from India, and worked as a software consultant. He was known for his focus, discipline, and emotional depth. Unlike Evelyn, he was open about his past, his family, and his dreams. Their connection began with long written exchanges that slowly turned personal. Over time, late-night video calls replaced formal messages, and emotional attachment grew across borders. Evelyn seemed lighter when she spoke to him, more relaxed than anyone had ever seen her. For Aarav, Evelyn felt like a mystery he wanted to understand, not solve. As months passed, their relationship deepened. Evelyn visited New Jersey several times, each visit carefully planned and brief. She never introduced Aarav to her old friends back home and avoided social gatherings. Aarav noticed this but believed it was simply her nature. When the idea of marriage came up, it happened quickly, almost urgently. Evelyn insisted on a small wedding with minimal guests. She did not want a large ceremony, no extended family, no unnecessary attention. To Aarav, this felt unusual, but love often ignores questions that logic tries to raise. In the weeks leading up to the wedding, subtle changes appeared in Evelyn's behavior. She became more cautious, more alert to her surroundings. She checked her phone often, sometimes deleting messages immediately after reading them. She avoided certain places she once visited freely. At night, she barely slept, choosing instead to sit quietly with her laptop, typing late into the dark hours. Aarav assumed it was wedding stress or work pressure. He never imagined there was something deeper weighing on her mind. Evelyn moved permanently to New Jersey just before the wedding. She brought very little with her, only a few bags, no sentimental items, no photo albums, nothing that reflected a past life. It was as if she was starting over from zero. She changed her phone number, closed several online accounts, and transferred her work to remote mode. To Aarav, it felt like commitment. To investigators later, it would feel like preparation. The wedding day arrived without warning signs. The ceremony was elegant and quiet, held in a small venue with close friends and a few co-workers. Evelyn looked composed, almost flawless, but those who watched closely noticed her eyes carried a strange tension. She smiled, yet her hands trembled slightly. She kept looking around the room, not in excitement, but as if she expected someone unexpected to appear. Still, the event passed without incident, and the newlyweds left together amid warm wishes and soft applause. That night was meant to be the beginning of a new life. They headed to a private rental house chosen for privacy and peace, surrounded by trees and far from busy roads. The location felt isolated but romantic. To anyone watching from a distance, it was the perfect ending to a perfect day. But inside Evelyn's mind, the past was catching up faster than she had expected. Whatever she was running from had not stayed behind. As the house lights disappeared into the darkness, so did the last chance for the truth to come out on its own. The quiet of the rental house was deep and heavy, broken only by the distant sound of wind moving through the trees. The place had been chosen for privacy, a modern structure sitting far from neighboring homes, surrounded by darkness once the sun went down. Inside, the lights glowed softly, reflecting off clean walls and untouched furniture. Everything looked untouched by danger, calm enough to make anyone believe nothing bad could happen there. The newlyweds had arrived late, tired from the long day, carrying the emotional weight of the ceremony with them. To the outside world, this was supposed to be the safest night of their lives. Hours later, that illusion was destroyed. Early the next morning, a call reached emergency services from the rental property owner, who had come by after receiving no response to repeated messages. What was found inside shocked even the most experienced officers. Evelyn Carter was lying lifeless in the bedroom, the scene eerily quiet and strangely orderly. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken windows, no damaged doors, no evidence of a violent struggle. The room looked almost staged, as if time had stopped at a carefully chosen moment. Aarav Malhotra was found alive in another part of the house, disoriented and barely conscious, unable to understand where he was or what had happened. Paramedics rushed in, but it was already too late for Evelyn. The cause of death was not immediately clear, and that uncertainty sent a chill through everyone at the scene. Aarav was taken to the hospital for evaluation, still in shock, repeatedly stating that he remembered nothing after arriving at the house. Toxicology tests were ordered right away. Investigators quickly sealed the property, knowing that whatever had happened was deliberate. The absence of chaos was the first clue that this was not a crime of emotion, but one of calculation. News of the death spread fast. A newlywed woman killed on her wedding night was a story that grabbed attention instantly. Media outlets focused on the international marriage, the quiet ceremony, and the sudden tragedy. Online speculation exploded, and many rushed to blame the person closest to her. Aarav became the center of suspicion almost immediately. From the outside, the story looked simple, and simple stories often invite quick judgments. But inside the house, nothing pointed clearly in his direction. Detectives began their work by documenting every inch of the property. What they found raised more questions than answers. Evelyn's belongings were minimal, almost too minimal for someone who had just moved in for the night. Her purse contained multiple IDs with different variations of her name. 3 mobile phones were discovered, each powered off and registered under unrelated accounts. Her laptop was found locked with advanced encryption software, far beyond what an average user would need. This was not normal behavior, and it changed the direction of the investigation instantly. Aarav's medical results came back later that day. A strong sedative was found in his system, enough to cause memory loss and physical weakness. He had not taken it willingly, and it had been administered shortly after arriving at the house. This explained his confusion and the gaps in his memory. It also weakened the case against him. Investigators now believed someone else had been inside the house that night, someone careful enough to leave almost nothing behind. As the hours passed, the house itself began to feel less like a romantic getaway and more like a silent witness. Security cameras inside the house had been disabled, but not damaged. Outside cameras on nearby properties showed very limited activity, except for one brief moment when a shadowy figure moved near the trees, barely visible and impossible to identify. That single detail kept investigators awake long after the sun went down. What troubled them most was timing. Whoever killed Evelyn knew exactly when to act, exactly how long they had, and exactly how to leave without being noticed. This was not an accident, and it was not spontaneous. It was planned around the wedding, around the isolation, and around the belief that no one would question the night itself. As investigators stood in the silent bedroom, one thought became impossible to ignore. Evelyn Carter had not just been living a quiet life. She had been hiding something powerful enough to follow her to the most important night of her life. And whatever that secret was, it had just turned a love story into a mystery that refused to stay buried. Once the initial shock faded, the investigation moved away from the crime scene and into the digital world Evelyn Carter had built around herself. Detectives believed the answers were not in the house, but in the life she had hidden so carefully. Her encrypted laptop became the center of attention. Specialists worked day and night to access it, knowing that whatever was inside could explain why a bride was killed on the night she was supposed to begin a new life. When parts of the data were finally recovered, the image of Evelyn began to change completely. Behind the calm professional profile was a web of online identities spread across multiple platforms. Evelyn had used different names, emails, and accounts, each one carefully separated from the others. Some profiles appeared harmless, while others were connected to complex financial activity. Investigators uncovered records of money transfers moving through digital wallets, offshore accounts, and temporary holding platforms. The amounts were not small, and the patterns suggested coordination with others. This was not a hobby or mistake. It was organized, long-term, and risky. As the data expanded, so did the timeline. Evelyn had been involved in this hidden network for years, long before she met Aarav. Messages recovered from cloud backups revealed that she was trying to exit the operation. She had slowly reduced her involvement, cut contact with key figures, and started closing accounts. The timing of her wedding now looked less romantic and more strategic. Marriage offered her a new identity, a reason to change names, move locations, and disappear without raising alarms. What had looked like love-driven urgency now felt like escape. More disturbing details soon emerged. Weeks before the wedding, Evelyn had received several threatening messages. They were short, direct, and designed to scare rather than explain. Most had been deleted, but fragments remained in backup files. The threats warned her not to make mistakes, not to vanish, and not to expose what she knew. One message referenced the wedding date, proving that someone was watching her closely. Investigators realized the danger had been growing while everyone around her believed she was planning a joyful future. Aarav was brought back in for further questioning, not as a suspect, but as a source of insight into Evelyn's behavior. He described her as loving but distant, present yet guarded. He spoke about her sudden need for privacy, her reluctance to talk about her past, and her desire to keep the wedding small and controlled. When investigators explained the extent of her hidden activities, Aarav was visibly shaken. The woman he loved was still real, but she had been carrying a life he never imagined. Love, in this case, had been built on partial truth. As authorities followed the digital trails, names began to appear repeatedly. Some were protected by layers of encryption and foreign servers, making them nearly impossible to trace. Others vanished as soon as they were identified, accounts wiped clean within hours. It became clear that the network Evelyn was involved in was still active, still watching, and still capable of responding quickly. The fear was no longer just about solving a murder, but about how far this group might go to protect itself. One discovery stood out above all others. Evelyn had saved a secure file labeled only with a date, the same date as her wedding. Inside was a detailed record of transactions, usernames, and access points. It looked like evidence, possibly meant to be released if something happened to her. But the file was incomplete, cut off suddenly, as if she had been interrupted while creating it. This suggested that Evelyn knew she was in danger and had tried to protect herself in the only way she could. The case now carried a new weight. This was no longer just about who killed Evelyn Carter, but about why she was silenced at the exact moment she believed she could finally be free. Every answer uncovered only opened another question, pulling investigators deeper into a world of hidden deals and silent threats. And as the truth slowly surfaced, one thing became painfully clear. Evelyn's death was not the end of her story. It was a moment her darkest secret finally refused to stay hidden. The investigation had reached a critical point when authorities began examining the surroundings of the rental house more closely. The property itself revealed little, but the nearby roads, surveillance cameras, and traffic patterns told a story no one had anticipated. The team started reviewing footage from every street camera, store, and gas station within a 10-mile radius. Most of it showed empty roads and quiet neighborhoods, but one clip caught everyone's attention. A dark-colored SUV had been parked at the edge of a road leading to the rental house on the night of the wedding. The vehicle stayed there for several hours, its driver never leaving the car, always watching. The image was grainy, the figure unidentifiable, but the presence of the car at that precise time suggested a calculated stakeout. Tracing the vehicle led investigators to a man named Lucas Hale. He was a former associate of Evelyn, known to authorities for involvement in illegal digital trading and financial schemes. Lucas had disappeared months before, vanishing without a trace after a series of audits and investigations into his activities. His name immediately raised red flags. He had motive, means, and, based on the footage, opportunity. But his disappearance complicated matters. How had he returned, and why had he chosen Evelyn's wedding night for confrontation? The timeline alone suggested the murder was not spontaneous. Someone had been planning this for weeks, if not months. Forensic evidence slowly pieced together the sequence of events inside the rental house. Aarav's sedative exposure explained his unconsciousness, but Evelyn's death remained puzzling. No signs of forced entry, no overt struggle, and no weapon were initially found. But subtle forensic traces revealed that Evelyn had been suffocated with precision, leaving no obvious marks. Whoever had done it had extensive knowledge of how to neutralize her without leaving evidence. Investigators began to realize this was not a personal act of rage. It was professional, methodical, and silent. The digital evidence also indicated that Evelyn had been under surveillance even before the wedding. Her emails, cloud storage, and encrypted messages had all been accessed from unfamiliar locations. Someone had been monitoring her communications, tracking her movements, and possibly orchestrating her steps. This supported the theory that her past associates, especially Lucas Hale, were involved. It wasn't just random violence. It was an attempt to control information, to prevent Evelyn from exposing a network she had once been part of. Aarav, meanwhile, struggled to process the revelations. The man he had loved and married in good faith had a life full of secrets he could not have imagined. But as much as he was overwhelmed, he became an important ally for investigators. He provided context about Evelyn's habits, her movements, and the subtle changes in her behavior in the weeks before the wedding. This information helped build a clearer picture of her final days and narrowed the time frame of when the intruder might have entered the property. The case began to move closer to resolution when authorities identified Lucas Hale's digital footprint. Although he had attempted to erase his tracks, patterns in encrypted servers revealed that he had entered the state days before the wedding. Travel records, hotel bookings under fake names, and GPS signals from his phone confirmed his proximity to the rental property. Investigators concluded that he had likely been the one staking out the area, waiting for the exact moment to act, and ensuring that no witnesses could interfere. His meticulous planning reinforced the idea that this was a premeditated act designed to silence Evelyn before she could disappear. Despite the mounting evidence, one question remained unresolved: the why. What exactly did Evelyn know that made her a target? Specialists analyzing her remaining files suggested she had discovered irregularities in digital trading networks, exposing powerful people in ways that threatened them. Her death was not just a silencing tactic, it was a warning to anyone else who might follow her path. The precision of the murder, the timing of the sedative, and the stakeout all pointed to a single conclusion: Evelyn had been eliminated to protect a secret far larger than her personal life. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that the story of Evelyn Carter was no ordinary crime. It involved deceit, manipulation, and danger that extended beyond borders. The world she had left behind had finally caught up with her, and the consequences of that hidden life spilled over into the perfect night she had hoped would mark a fresh start. Every revelation drew investigators deeper into the dark network she had once been a part of, and each clue left them wondering if the truth could ever fully be uncovered. One thing, however, was certain: this was a murder born not of passion, but of calculated fear, and the web of secrets surrounding Evelyn's death was far from over. The investigation reached a chilling turning point when authorities began tracing Lucas Hale after linking him to Evelyn's murder. Despite months of disappearance, his movements were surprisingly calculated. Travel records, hotel check-ins under false names, and digital footprints revealed that he had crossed multiple state lines in the days following the wedding. It seemed that the man who had orchestrated the murder was trying to vanish just as efficiently as Evelyn had once tried to escape her past. Yet, no matter how carefully he planned, every action left faint traces that eventually guided investigators closer to him. Weeks after the murder, Lucas Hale was discovered dead in a small apartment in another state. Initial reports ruled it an apparent suicide. Investigators found a note, cryptic and short, claiming remorse but offering no real explanation for Evelyn's death or his motives. The timing of his death, however, raised more questions than it answered. Some believed it was genuine despair, while others suspected a silencing act to prevent him from revealing more about the network he had been part of. The truth, as often happens, remained elusive, leaving behind more theories than answers. Aarav Malhotra, meanwhile, struggled to rebuild his life. Returning to India temporarily, he carried the weight of a love story that had turned into a nightmare. Every memory of Evelyn, the late-night calls, the quiet smiles, the carefully planned wedding, was now intertwined with secrets, danger, and death. He constantly questioned how someone he trusted so deeply could have lived a life so hidden, a life that ultimately led to her violent end. Friends and family tried to console him, but the truth was heavy, inescapable, and relentless. Authorities eventually closed the case, naming Lucas Hale as the sole suspect in Evelyn's murder. Forensic evidence, surveillance footage, and digital tracking pointed to him as the executor of the crime. But despite the closure, many details remained unclear. Who else, if anyone, had supported him? Was Evelyn's network entirely destroyed, or were others still active, watching and waiting? These questions lingered, casting a shadow over the resolution. The public, meanwhile, was captivated by the story, sharing theories online and debating every aspect of the case. The narrative of a young bride killed on her wedding night by someone linked to a secret life captured imaginations worldwide, leaving viewers both horrified and intrigued. The tragic story of Evelyn Carter became a cautionary tale, one that highlighted the fragility of trust and the hidden dangers lurking behind seemingly ordinary lives. Her attempts to escape her past were courageous, but ultimately futile. Every careful step she took to protect herself was anticipated, tracked, and countered by someone far more dangerous than she had anticipated. The tension between her desire for love and the reality of her hidden life created a perfect storm, one that ended in a way no one could have predicted. Evelyn's life and death also forced a deeper look at the duality of human behavior. She had been brilliant, ambitious, and fiercely independent, yet vulnerable in ways she never revealed to Aarav. Her secrecy, while understandable, had made her a target, proving that even the most careful planning cannot always guarantee safety. Aarav's heartbreak, the public fascination, and the unresolved questions about the network she was entangled in combined to create a story that would linger long after headlines faded. In the end, Evelyn Carter became more than just a victim. She was a symbol of the hidden complexities people carry with them, the parts of themselves they keep buried from those they love most. Her story reminded the world that love can mask danger, that trust can be both a gift and a vulnerability, and that some secrets are too powerful to remain hidden. For viewers, the narrative of a newlywed girl killed on her wedding night, whose dark secrets were revealed too late, became a haunting lesson. Appearances can deceive, and the past can follow anyone, no matter how far they run. Even today, discussions about Evelyn's murder continue online, each retelling adding new theories and speculation. People are drawn to the mystery, the suspense, and the human drama that surrounds her story. The combination of love, betrayal, and hidden danger ensures that Evelyn Carter's name remains etched in the memory of those captivated by true crime. And while justice may have been officially served, the shadows of her life, the darkness she tried to escape, and the love that ended in tragedy continue to fascinate and terrify in equal measure.